Hello everyone and welcome to an amazing match from the quarterfinals of the FIDE World Cup 2025. If you've been following what's been happening, you know that the two classical games ended in a draw and then Jose Martinez defeated Javokhir Sindarov for the first time in this tournament. And not only was it the first win for Jose Martinez against Javokhir, but it was the first loss Javokhir suffered in the tournament. And then when you think, okay, now he will hold it with a draw, I mean, he only needs a draw with black. No, then he decided to sacrifice everything with black, and the Joker just played a perfect game and retaliated and then dealt Jose Martinez his first loss of the event. So it was a crazy start, 2 draws in 2 classicals, then trading victories in rapid, and now we go into the second part of the tiebreaks. This is the 4th game of the rapid, and for the 3rd game ended in a draw. So now again, Jose Martinez with the black pieces, will he hold a draw or will he try to sacrifice everything again? Let's check it out. A lot is on the line. Who goes into the semifinal? And, once you're into the semifinal, you're almost into the candidates tournament. 4 people go into the semifinal, 3 qualify for the candidates, so chances are very good. Javokhir with white opens with pawn to c4. He starts with an English. We have c5 going symmetrical, knight f3, knight to f6, and knight to c3. We have pawn to e6. This is the Agincourt defense. Now we've basically transposed. G3, the 3 knight system, now with the fianchetto of the light square bishop, pawn to b6, bishop to g2, and bishop to b7. We have castles kingside, bishop to e7, so nicely developing, nothing crazy here. Pawn to d4, c captures, queen captures on d4, and castles kingside. We have rook to d1, again, all been played before, nothing new here. Knight to c6 attacks the queen, queen f4, and now queen to b8, offering a trade of queens. And again, and also sorry about that, it has all been very, very thoroughly analyzed. It has been played quite a lot in top grandmaster practice for a very, very long time. A lot of games, for example, with Peter Leko against Vladimir Kramnik with this exact same setup. And it's usually considered the best to wait with the trade before this rook has been developed, sort of forcing black to waste the tempo. Because if you capture, black would be happy having the rooks on the A and B file, and then you start opening up. But here, after rook queen to B8, we have pawn to B3, rook to d8, and only now, once rook f to d8 has been played, now queen captures on b8. So now if rook if rook d captures on b8, black has indeed lost a tempo. So rook a captures on b8, we have bishop to f4, again gaining a tempo, pawn to d6, and rook a to c1. We have pawn to h6 and pawn to h3. All been seen before, and there is a game where pawn to a6 was played. Here we have knight to h5, and it is now as of move 15 that we have a completely new game. As you can see, both of them playing fairly quickly. Jose Martinez he is still above the 10-minute mark. Okay, bishop back to e3, we have knight back to f6, and knight to b5. Putting pressure on that d6 pawn, so attacking it with the rook with the knight. Bishop to f4, you could add another attacker, so it's a question whether black will be able to execute d5, or will white somehow get e4 in and really cement that d5 square with some sort of a Marozzi bind structure. Rook to d7, we have knight to e1, knight to d8, okay, nicely offering a trade of the light square bishops, bishop to f4, preparing pawn to e4 to grab hold of the d5 square, and we have a trade, captures, and knight to e8, as the d6 pawn is attacked 3 times, so you have to defend it. We have knight to d3 and pawn to a6, just chasing away the knight, knight to c3, and rook to c8. Okay, preparing to execute b5 at some point, or if not, just keep everything under control. You only need a draw, and then you again get a chance with white. We have knight to b4, putting pressure on a6, but Jose Martinez just nicely plays knight to c6. As capturing on a6, it doesn't lose the game, because you think that knight captures and rook a7 wins the knight. There's no way for the knight to go anywhere, but b4. As usual, I mean, there's always a b4. And while it's not that impressive for white, you're not going to lose a piece. For example, captures, it's equal material, but the weak c pawn, the weak a pawn does make it a bit easier to play this with black. But still, I mean, there's the d6 pawn. A lot of your pieces are stuck guarding it, so it would be a very, very interesting position. But okay, knight captures on c6. He doesn't even consider it. Rook captures and pawn to e4. Now grabbing hold of the d5 square, and it doesn't seem like d5 will be happening anytime soon, and d6 will remain a target. We have rook d to c7, pawn to a4, and now rook to c8. Just waiting, as there's really nothing for black to do here. It's up to white whether white wants to push for more. We have knight to a2, rook 6 to c7, and now knight to b4, where you should kick away the knight with a5, but I guess Jose Martinez thinking that, okay, maybe I did too much in that one game with the black pieces, let's just do nothing and good things will happen, decides to just defend with rook to a8. But now he actually allows more activity from Javokhir. We have bishop to e3, as the b6 pawn is undefended, rook to b7, and knight to c6. And while not winning or anything for white, black just is very, very, very much struggling to find a move here. We have bishop to f8 and pawn to b4. And again, not a lot of moves for black. We have knight to f6, just waiting. King to f3. We have knight to d7, king to e2, improving the position of the white king as much as possible. Rook to c7, and now even b5, defending the knight. We have king to h7, and now rook to a1 should be played, because once the position opens up, you don't want to just hand over the a file to black. But Javokhir played pawn to f4, and he allows Jose Martinez to grab hold of the a file. We have a captures on b5, a captures on b5, and rook to a4. The rook is perfectly fine on a4, or you can go rook to a2 check. He goes for a4, puts pressure on the c4 pawn, and also if it moves, then the e4 pawn becomes weak. King f3 and pawn to h5. So it seems that that rook definitely did belong on a1. We have pawn to g4, captures, king to g8, and pawn to g5. We have pawn to g6, rook to d2, and now rook to a3, pinning the bishop. We have rook c to c2 and rook to a4. Again, just waiting because the black really doesn't have all that much to do here. It's up to Javokhir to decide whether he wants to draw or whether he wants to push for more. And again, rook a2. Why not grab hold of that a file? It's rook a7 is impossible, so you should do it. But he goes king to e2, and now black is back in the game. Pawn to f5. We have e captures on f5, g captures on f5, king to f3, and now pawn to e5. Okay, you didn't get to play d5, but e5 is also very nice. We have rook to d5, rook to a3, and now king to f2. We have rook to a4, again, just waiting. E captures on f4 is a must here, because I'm just going to show it, because it seems like there's not a lot you can do about this d6 pawn. But there's the tricky knight c5, and the weird positioning of the white king actually allows you to consolidate very nicely. You're just going to put a knight on e4, and that's it. And you can never capture, because knight e4 check, and you're going to lose a piece. So we would see something like rook captures on f5, rook to f7, forcing a trade, rook captures, king captures, and okay, white is up a pawn, but this is very much manageable. We get a similar line in terms of material, but in terms of actual position, not so much. So rook to a4 was played. Now f captures on e5. We have d captures on e5, knight captures on e5, knight captures on e5, rook captures on e5, rook c captures on c4, rook captures on c4, rook captures on c4, and the bishop captures on b6. And okay, the capture fest has now been completed. But even though you're down a pawn, as you would be in that other line that we've shown, this is now completely winning for white. But okay, let's see what happens. We have pawn to f4, rook to d5, and bishop to e7. Okay, putting pressure on that g5 pawn, but for the moment it's defended. King to f3. Again, allowing black back into the game here, cutting off the king with rook f5 would have been best. But okay, king to f3, we have king to f7, rook to e5, and now rook to c3 with check. Here, bishop to d6, and maybe you can still hold. But after rook to c3 check, it becomes very difficult. King to e4, we have bishop to d6 now, and you can even throw in a g6 check here, because if captures then check and you pick up the bishop. But rook to f5 check was played, king to e7, and now bishop to d4, attacking the rook and preparing to march the b pawn forward. We have rook to g3, king to d5, and now pawn to f3. The f pawn is also very strong, but it doesn't seem like you'll be crossing that f2 square anytime soon. We have pawn to b6, rook to g4, and pawn to b7. There are no tricks, and well, Jose Martinez is just dead lost here. There's really no trick that you can even try here. It's an open board. There are no stalemates. There's really nothing. It's hard to even imagine a situation where you blunder something here. So bishop to h2 was played as bishop to e5 is being threatened to trade off the bishop and then just queen the pawn. He tries bishop to h2, but to no avail. Bishop to e5. With b8 coming next, we have rook to b4, giving up the bishop, but now not even taking the bishop. Pawn to b8 was played, a queen was promoted, and he was in this position on move 63 that Jose Martinez Alcantara resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. With the game, he also resigns the match, and Jose Martinez is eliminated from the FIDE World Cup, and it is Javokhir Sindarov who goes into the FIDE World Cup semifinals. And here you resign because what can you do? I mean, rook captures on b8. Let's say bishop captures on b8. Bishop captures. Rook captures on f3. Yes, it's a rook versus bishop, but you also have a passed pawn. The king is completely cut off the game because the rook will just remain on the f-file and you will just push the pawn. There's no way for the bishop to even help out against the advancement of the pawn. So after b8 queen, Jose Martinez resigned, and a wonderful victory for Javokhir Sindarov. And here are the sort of semifinalists. Let me just make this a little bit larger. There we go. We don't need these guys. There we go. So these are the semifinalists. Javokhir Sindarov will face Nodirbek Yakuboev, the big Uzbekistan clash. No one could have guessed that we're gonna have two Uzbekistan grandmasters in the semifinals, and none of them will be Nodirbek Abdusattorov, but no, it is Javokhir Sindarov and Nodirbek Yakuboev. The other semifinal pair is Andrei Yasipenko, who eliminated Sam Shankland, versus Wei Yi, who eliminated Arjun Erigaisi. So what do you say? Out of these four, who goes into the candidates tournament? Who is the sort of the weakest link of the four? Very, very hard to say, because if the tournament so far is anything to go by, anything can happen. Like we could easily see, like I don't want to offend anyone, but we could see like Javokhir qualify, Nodirbek qualify, and Ispenko qualify, and Wei Yi not qualify, or we could see literally anything. So yeah, it's going to be interesting, and I think this is going to be a very, very interesting candidates tournament in terms of crazy positions. I think we're going to have the craziest games possible, because in terms of rating, maybe this will be the weakest candidates tournament. But yeah, I mean, after COVID, rating isn't everything. I mean, there are so many strong players that simply haven't had the time to gain a rating, and they don't have a chance to play as much, and the top players, of course, safeguard their rating. So if there was like an open tournament, let's say a quadruple round robin of the world top 100, I think maybe we would have the expected like top 2 at the top, but maybe not. Who knows? So I'm very much looking forward to what happens. Today is the rest day, so if you have anything else that you would like to see, use that hashtag suggestion. I would like to thank Bikram Chakraborty, Andrea Sorcinelli, Eddie Sphere, Brian Pratt, and David Gasparian for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. Really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions and whatever else happens in the chess world. Thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.